Hi, everyone. So today we're going to take some notes about changes in Europe that occurred as a result of what we've been studying. So Mongols, feudal Europe, Crusades, it's all coming together to cause big changes that start to lead us to our modern world. So we're going to take some notes, okay? So you need a piece of paper. What we're going to end up making it look like is 6 boxes like this, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is fold it in thirds like a letter. We've done this before, right? You fold it in thirds like this, and then fold it in half again. So you end up with 6 boxes all together. Okay, it looks like a little square, a little rectangle, so that when you open it up, you get 6 boxes. Okay. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to use these to take notes as we go through our presentation here about Europe changing. All right, so the first thing we need to remember is what the Crusades were. So we're going to talk about the Crusades in this first box. Okay, so Crusades. Okay, and what you should remember is the Crusades were a series of wars over the Holy Land, which is Jerusalem. Jerusalem was holy to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. You can see on this map that it was controlled by Muslims at the time, right? It's orange. Our key tells us it was controlled by Muslims. And the Christians in Western Europe, the Roman Catholic Christians, decided that that was not acceptable. And so they fought wars to try to take Jerusalem back. That didn't happen. Mostly they lost control of the Holy Land, okay? And for the Muslims, this was not a big deal one way or another. It was just another war. But for the people in Europe, it opened them to more trade. Okay, because the soldiers and the people that went there, when fighting in the Crusades, they went, and what they saw was spices and cotton and all of these wonderful technologies and ideas, and they wanted access to those things. And when they brought them back to Western Europe, the people in Western Europe said, I want those things. And so it motivated more trade. Okay, now the Crusades lead to political, economic, and social changes. And that's what we're going to take a look at as we move through this unit. We've looked at some of them. All right, so what we're going to do is draw an arrow about some of these causes. All right, so the Crusades were a cause. We're going to look at one effect at a time. The first one we're going to look at is the Commercial Revolution. Okay, so what was the Commercial Revolution? So you are going to write on your note sheet, Commercial Revolution, just in the box on the left-hand side, okay? And this is where we're going to write down what it was. Okay, so what was the Commercial Revolution? An increase in trade and business, okay? So this is all you need to write down in your notes for right now, is an increase in trade and business in Europe. So remember that previous to this, okay, self-sufficient manners with serfs were how the economy ran in Europe. What happens is that serfs stop returning to the manors because there's someplace else for them to go. As cities grow in size, serfs can leave and find a job in the city, okay? This is what our notes look like right now. This was an increase in trade and business. And the Commercial Revolution itself is also a turning point. So it causes other things. So we would consider the Commercial Revolution to be an effect of the Crusades, but it's also a cause of other changes. So now we're going to draw an arrow over here to say what were some effects of the Commercial Revolution. Okay, so one effect is that there was an increase in the size and number of cities. More people started moving to the cities, so that's an increase in urbanization, okay? We also see an increase in the size of the merchant class. So instead of just really rich landowners and really poor serfs or peasants, we start to see a growing middle class, that there are more merchants, okay? We also see an increase in currency. So there was still a lot of barter, a lot of trading of goods, but there's also an increase in the usage of coins, particularly silver coins. And all of this leads to an increase in the power of kings and a decrease in the power of local lords. So under feudalism, we know the lords were the most powerful, but once cities grow, merchants grow, and currency is something that can make you wealthy, not just land, right? So coins can make you wealthy, not just land. Kings can start to gain more power, even if they don't directly control all of the land. They can take the taxes and they get more wealthy and powerful that way. Now, the commercial revolution also is connected to this increase in trade, right? That we know came about because of the Mongol Empire. So how do the Mongols connect to all of this? Okay, so over here in this box, we're going to write Pax Mongolica. So if you remember, okay, and you can see on this map on your screen, the Mongols were able to control trade along the Silk Road. So they opened trade on the Silk Roads, right? They protected it, they made it easier to have, okay? This also contributes to increases in trade in Western Europe. So we're going to draw another arrow. This is another cause of the commercial revolution. Okay. Now, how does that happen? Well, because the Mongols opened trade along the Silk Roads. So if we see here, right, the Crusades happened here. And then as those were kind of coming to an end, the Mongols opened this trade route, the Silk Roads. So as the Europeans are able to trade more, it's more peaceful, they know about the products, those products become more available because the Mongols opened the Silk Roads. So now people over here in Western Europe who were pretty isolated and didn't know what was going on in all these places now have access, not just access, but desire to have goods from all these different trade routes. The Silk Roads, spices from the Indian Ocean, gold from the Trans-Saharan. They want all of those things, okay? Now, we also know that along with all that trade, the Black Death spread. So rats carried the disease, which then transferred to fleas. Fleas bit the humans, humans gave it to humans, and here we are with the Black Death, okay? So we're gonna draw an arrow from commercial revolution to Black Death or plague, okay? And we know that it spread in the 1300s, and a third of the population was lost in Western Europe, okay? And you can see that on the map. Okay, so what were the effects of the Black Death? Now, you do not need to write all of this down. Okay, I will simplify this for you. But from a basic standpoint, the population went down, right? So we're going to draw an arrow for our effects. The population went down. Because the population went down, workers could demand higher wages. There was the same amount of work that needed to be done. Food needed to be grown. You know, irrigation canals needed to be dug, things like that, but there were fewer people to do it. So those serfs started to say, I'm not working for nothing, pay me, okay? And this essentially means an end to the feudal system, okay? So population goes down, wages go up, feudalism basically comes to an end. Okay, now all of this means a lot of change, because the other thing we need to keep in mind, and that we're going to keep learning about, is that Europe also gets exposed to new technologies. So more trade brings in more products, brings in more wealth, changes the whole structure, and also allows them to learn about new technologies, and we'll see that's going to change the world. Thanks, everybody. Here's what your notes should look like again.